Greetings, hi, hello, welcome to and/or welcome back to my YouTube page. I'm Fire Lotus the Witch, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, the bell icon, so you get all the notifications when I post and/or go live. For one, I want to go ahead and address this. The reason that I've not been able to go live on YouTube is my phone. There's something fucked up with the audio, and every single time I've tried streaming from it, there's no audio. Whether I use a microphone, headphones, whatever it is, there's no audio. That's the reason I've not been live. I can go live on here, but I've got to figure out a website and/or some other software to add with it. So that is the reason you have not been able to see me on YouTube live. On top of life is just cray-cray right now. Crazy as hell, okay? To be honest, crazy. Now, if you check out my Facebook page, I do updates on there, and then I also do updates on TikTok. Any new services, which we do have some. I have a yearly subscription. Did you know that? Yeah. Anyways, I offer readings of all different types, spell work, all of that, spiritual advisories. If you're ever interested in that, check out my other socials and/or email me. That's not what the video is about. So, let's talk about what it's like being a medium and/or how to access your abilities. And we're going to start the conversation on that, which is abilities, gifts. A TikTok video is what inspired this by another medium. And I was going to do it on TikTok, but nobody over there likes long-form platforms or long-form videos, except for some of my OGs. So I was like, why not do it here? Did I want to do this today? No, I planned on resting all day today. I had a very, very busy witchy night last night during the full moon. Okay, so, for one, anybody has the potential and the ability to tap into their abilities, okay? For one, what do I mean by abilities? Most people know them as clairs. Clairsentient, clairaudience, claircognizance, which is what I have, which is clear knowing. Basically, all the clairs mean clear. Clear sensing, clear understanding, clear knowing, clear smell, clear taste, clear touch. There's also, like, other subdivisions of that. There's a lot that the human body can do when it comes to our senses, right? That's key to this. So, the number one thing that I wanted to start out with is, for one, when it comes to anything in spirituality, discernment is everything. You have to teach yourself what is your intuition and/or what may be spirit interacting with you versus your own imagination and your own actual mind, anxiety, and all of that. It takes time, but it can be done. Okay, so I've already made a video on this before, but once you've taught yourself discernment, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do I access my psychic abilities? Okay, for one, don't go into it like that. There's a lot of different types of abilities, so you may just spend an entire year just trying to figure out what you have and what you don't, right? 9 times out of 10, if you have to ask a question, what do you have, you probably already know the answer to it, alright? So, here are some different ways over the years that I've done it. For one, straight up research all the different types of psychic abilities. And when I say research, I don't just mean like reading articles. Yes, articles are really good, but also go into TikTok and other social medias and try to find videos of other people speaking them. I will try my best to either put it in the description and/or if somebody can remind me to put it in the comments. I listened to a podcast that I randomly came across that's all they do is just interview mediums and psychics and things like that. And that was what helped my path in speeding up. Now, before I get into this, know that I've been a medium my entire life, but it takes a moment, a crucial moment in time for you to fully step into that, okay? I've been able to see spirits since I was in a crib. Off and on throughout the years, I've shared all different types of experiences. Here's the key that you need to take away from that. I've spent the majority of my entire life in some way, shape, or form, especially after the fact that I actually discovered, oh shit, not everybody can do this. I started researching it. Researching it in itself, it scratches the surface. Then once you start to learn different types of techniques, that's what you do. A lot of the books that you will come across, and this may work for some individuals. If you have neurospiciness, this probably is not going to work for you. For anybody who doesn't understand that slang, ADHD or autism, this may not work for you. A lot of the books that you will stumble upon is like, oh my God, so you're going to sit down, you're going to clear that mind, and you're going to meditate. Meditate, there's a time and a place for it, okay? There's all different types of meditations. By the way, just sitting down doing like this, that's only one of many, many forms of meditation. Do you know, to tell you what I used to do as meditation when I used to work with my aunt? Work. I used to work with her as a side hustle on cleaning houses. So somebody would move out, they'd call us and we'd clear it out from head to toe. That was my job. That was my meditation because I could stick in headphones. Typically, I'd work with my mom back then, so we'd get to the house, we'd walk through, you know, and we'd break it up. My mom would be like, all right, you do this room, this room, this room, and I'm like, bet, got you. Pop my headphones in, and boom. Meditation is anything, A, that you can focus in on one specific thing, whether that's a phrase, there are phrases of power, whether that's a sculpture or a tiny crystal that is like an actual animal or something like that. It can literally be anything to focus just on that. Painting, drawing, reading, art, exercise, running, the runner's high, same thing. That's all forms of meditation, okay? Now, when is a good time for meditation? When is not a good time? Learning visualization for the people that can, no matter what scale you are on the visualization, that is going to help, yes. Accessing your psychic abilities, though, not necessarily, depending on how you go about it. Now, if you go about it with the energy cords, or what most people call chakras, then, yeah, meditation goes hand in hand with that, because typically the first meditation that I learned in it is the flower meditation, which is basically for each chakra, and the color associated with it, you're going to imagine a flower slowly opening. Those types of meditations take months, and if not years. And what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to the chakra system is they think that once you open it, it just stays open. It's not. It's a practice. You have to constantly repeat it. Now, if you do follow the chakra system, I encourage you to go to the original roots of that word and the cultures from there, because from where it was originally born at, from where it is now here in the Western, the United States, there's a lot that's changed about it and a lot that's taken away from it. So please, I encourage you to go back to the roots of that word. All right. Now, in other practices and cultures, there's another terminology in Celtic or Irish where it is the three cauldrons of power. Outside of that, because we're eventually going to get to blocks, but outside of that, meditation is not really going to help you. The best advice is to put yourself out there. I am not saying randomly walk up to a random fucking stranger and tell them that their dead grandmother wants them to know that the sack of money that they left behind is still stuck in the cupboard. That's not what I'm saying, and I personally am against those types of mediums only because you don't know what that person is going through. That message, you're like, well, Lotus, it's a message from the loved one. Obviously, it's going to help them. You don't know that. That could also be that 1 inch that they need to... See what I'm saying? So always take that into consideration, okay? With me, my partner kind of became the focus point. Without him realizing it, he did. And his father. One of the main reasons that is in my particular situation is his mother passed away when he was 13. I never met her. There's a reason I'm saying this. I'm going to share a small story. And this was one of the key points where I was like, fuck, okay, this is a better story than the doom and gloom story where I really learned that, oh shit, wait, there's something here. I always knew it, but getting into witchcraft in general, I discovered accidentally, of course, and I believe I've already done a video on it at some point. If not, let me know and I'll do one. Oracle. Oracle is my vice. I discovered through reading Oracle cards that that's where my abilities, claircognizance, and the mediumship come in clutch. It's also important to know that I have claircognizance, which is clear knowing. Basically, at multiple moments in time, just shit randomly pops into my head that I should not know of. And it's freaked me out. There was one moment in time where I read half a paragraph that was in German. I don't speak German at all. So, yeah. But anyways, so he passed away, and when we got to the property that we used to live at, I kept seeing this landscape in the center of the roundabout in the property. And I randomly brought it up to my partner, and I was like, hey, I don't know what this is, but I keep seeing, like, did y'all ever want this? And I described it to him, and he's like, you've been talking to my mother, haven't you? And I'm like, no, why? His mother wanted this type of landscape right in this particular location. So fast forward a couple of months, we're over at my father-in-law's. Love that man. And we're having a cookout for Father's Day, and it gets brought up. So I tell him this, and he turns pale white. Now, take in mind, he knows about spirits. He's Christian, but he knows about spirits. He calls them spooks. But he goes, your partner told you that, didn't he? And I'm like, no. My partner was like, no, actually, Dad. He came to me to tell me that. That was one of those moments where I was like, okay, if I just shook the core to this man, obviously there's something there. So when I first got the my most amazing deck that I've ever worked with, but from the owner of the deck, or the creator of the deck, it's not the deck that did it. It's the deck. I needed this deck to learn that I don't need the cards. This right here, Flowers from the Dead. Unfortunately, they do not make them anymore, but you can find other decks like this. What do I mean by that? Look for a deck that doesn't necessarily come with a book, and it only comes with a picture and 1 or 2 words. For me, I've learned that this is easier for my brain because of the neurospiciness, the ADHD. When it comes to tarot cards, which I know how to read, I just don't offer them yet, working on it, there's so much going on there that it's very hard. By the way, these are just beginner TikTok, or beginner tarot cards that I picked up on TikTok. They basically have key terms right there. This is really good, too, to also learn tarot. But anyways, that's how I was kind of like, okay, maybe this is something. So fast forward about 4 to 5 years, I started reading way more, and in those readings, I had a conversation with somebody, and I'd recently learned that not only was I a medium, which I came out last year publicly, and why is this important? Me publicly saying, okay, hey, I identify as a medium now. That's what we mean by owning it. That's what we mean by fully stepping into it. For all my witches and spiritual people out there, I say this all the time, it is that moment in time where you're having a conversation with somebody and you, without thinking, identify as a witch. That means that you waited and you fully owned it to where your body felt like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is us. Now, it did not start this way. Around the time that I started all of this online stuff, I got a psychic medium to read me. It was a birthday gift from my adopted grandmother. And in the course of that, the medium was like, hey, your spirit team is right here. They want to talk to you. Spirit team, ancestors, spirit guides, and any deities or other entities that you work with. They're like, hey, they're right here. They want to speak to you. And I was like, oh, that's great. How? And she straight up looked at me and she goes, let them know you want to? And I was like, wait, is that easy? And she's like, there's more to it, but yeah. So I did that. I said, okay, spirits. Specifically, I worded it, okay, spirits, my spirit team. That's important. I am open and ready to receive. What that is doing is, for one, it's prepping them of saying, okay, finally, let's do this, right? It wasn't a crash course. In the process of that, I started the 30-day spiritual challenge thanks to this gifted woman, because she's like, well, just spend 5 or 10 minutes every other day talking to them. And I was like, okay. So I did it for a month. And the amount that I grew from that, now take in mind, you may not grow that way. We all grow differently. That's why we don't use the term baby witch here in the community. We use seedlings and sprouts, okay? But in the process of that, I started realizing, oh shit, wait, this is really working. And the reason that is because you are building up a line of communication. It's already there, but at this moment in time, it's as thin as a sewing cord, right? Sewing string. It's that thin, right? So they're already here. You're already here, right? So you sitting down talking to them like I'm talking to you right now for 5 to 10 minutes. I typically do it in the morning time when I have my coffee or tea. And just update them, right? Talk to them. You can also do this when you were cooking. Why cooking? What does every other race, generation out there all do? They gathered around a fire, a stove, an oven, whatever, and cooked. You can do the same thing. That's a meeting point for where your ancestors can come together. By all means, whatever you do, do not utter these words when working with your ancestors. I would like to feel closer to you. Don't do that. It's a setup, okay? Don't do it. I did it. They will take that shit literal, okay? Now, I'm going to get into some questions with ancestors about, like, you know, a lot of the questions that I've got. So, you're starting the 30-day challenge. Do not go into it expecting an answer or response or anything like that right off bat, because it may not happen or it may happen. Then, from my experience, spirits start to come in and they kind of ease in. In the process of them easing in, this is also going to help you identify what abilities you may or may not have. due to the process that they're going to try different ways of connecting with you. These different ways, for me, it was smells and scents that would follow me. As soon as I figured out who it was, and I was like, okay, I got you, I sense you, it stopped and went away. Now, these are things that we did not have in the house that would create that scent or smell. After that, it now is more impression. So if I fully connect to them or a spirit team, they will show me images in my head. Sometimes it's images, sometimes it's more along the lines of like old school black and white movies. Other times I will pick up on their personalities. And here's the discernment part that's very tricky, especially if you do start to read people. I always tell people when they come to me that you're either going to get intuitive reading slightly influenced by spirit, or full-on channeling message, right? I always tell them, during this reading, anything that pops into my mind that I feel is connected to you, I'm going to relay that to you. That does not mean that everything that comes out of my mouth is going to actually connect to you. Although a lot of the times it does. And sometimes it takes them asking other family members this as well. Now, here are some questions. No, you do not always have to work with your ancestors. Lotus, what happens if I'm adopted or I don't know my family? That's okay. Your ancestors still know you. Spiritual veneration. Do you have to, like, heal through your ancestry? A lot of the times, not all spirits, they've already kind of healed, right? Most importantly, when you hear working with your ancestors, we're not talking about working with the ones like over 400 years ago or over 3,000 years ago. Eventually we'll get to that, but right now it means the people that you have had in your life, whether it is blood relatives or not, that you've considered family, that is no longer with us, okay? If you have any trauma, hi, I had a lot of that in my family. There is a long list of people that I will not get anywhere near. AKA, spirits will not allow those spirits to come through to me. Eventually I might, but right now, fuck that shit, right? Okay, Lotus, well, most of my ancestors are Christian. Same, but guess what? Through me, they've learned, which most of them already knew, that there's a lot of shit in Christianity that is straight up witchcraft. Okay, I'm sorry. Also, Appalachian folk magic. Most people, if you have anybody in your life that grew up in the Appalachians or southern states or any other place that has folk magic, congratulations, you got witch in your blood, okay? Now, let's get into some other interesting conversations. Is there a difference between a natural born medium and somebody not? You're not going to like the answer to this. Yes and no, hear me out. There are some people that can be born with the innate ability of channeling or connecting with the spirit world. Does that mean that we don't have to go through all the other shit that everybody else does? Fuck no. We have to hone that in. We have to train it. We have to train ourselves and hone that ability in. The only thing that means, and I know a lot of people in the spiritual world use that as like a flex, it's really not. And if you have to use that as a flex, it's just like a witch who flexes their strength. All that says is insecurities, because we don't have to flex our strength, right? But it is the same equivalent of somebody picking up a paintbrush, or you walking up to somebody and giving them a baseball, or a football, or a calculator for mathematics, right? We've all seen those people that will just pick something up and they're really fucking good at it, right? Like with me, photography. I have an eye for photography. That is something that I was naturally born with. And a lot of the people don't realize that. Now, next question. Okay, since I'm not a natural born, secondly, what makes you a natural born? That's a very good question, and it has to do with regional and culturally. So, for an example, in Appalachia, in certain places in Appalachia, they believe that people that were born with the ability to see, interpret spirit, it was a gift from either God or a spirit from the gift, or a gift from the spirit world itself. There are also other things, mundane things, that also tie into this. If you've ever had somebody in your family be born with a veil over their eyes, that means that they could be extremely highly gifted. There's also a lot of other ones that dictate that as well. Okay, Lotus, I've never had a medium or a psychic in my family. Yes, the fuck you have. They just didn't identify it. But in some way, shape, or form, it is in all of us. Our bodies, our brains, it all has the mechanisms to be able to interpret the world around us. But discernment, repetitiveness, research and trial and error. Well, Lotus, I've always been told that if I start this journey, I need to just throw away all of my medication from my doctor. No, the fuck you do not. I don't care if you got mental shenanigans. I don't care why you're on medication. You need that medication. Yes, herbal medicine can do a lot, but there's still a reason that if I break my arm, I'm not going to find my local witch. I'm going to an ER for them to wrap that and properly heal it. There's a time and a place for that. Specifically, though, if you do have health insurance and you are on a regimen of mental health, you need to stay to that. And you're like, Lotus, what if it affects me? Think about this when I say this. You've spent the majority of your life, we'll say, I'm just going to say the term unbalanced, right? Or not necessarily fully balanced, right? When it comes to the mental chemistry of our brains, right? Imagine what you would do if you take that medication because it helps you while also trying to access that. What a lot of spiritual people don't understand because of all the conspiracies, and yeah, there's a lot of bad in the pharmaceutical division, but there's also a lot of life-saving. My partner, he went through breast cancer treatment, which means they had to give him radiation multiple times over. Do you honestly think as a practitioner that I was going to be like, no, thank you? No, what did I do? Also, if you do this, please talk to your doctors like I did. We have a herb that I would brew as a tea and give him during his treatment. Okay, see what I'm saying? Okay. Now, with that being said, treatment, mental health. Mental health is extremely important, okay? Especially when you are stepping one foot in the spiritual world. You have to make sure you are firmly planted in reality, all right? Because this stuff, messing with this stuff, especially, say, if you have a mental shenanigan where you may hallucinate or you may see things. There are certain things that I would not suggest to you unless you fully can tell the difference between the two. And there's not a lot of spiritual people that will give that advice. I'm not going to sit here and tell you go off script because I've been on scripts before and I know what that can do. I know what it feels like of, oh, the medicine's working. I can stop taking it. No. Okay. Now, back to this. Repetitiveness. All right. Most importantly, before you even think about actually reaching out and connecting with the dead, you need to work on energetic psychic protections. What the fuck is that? Lotus, I have all of these. I have my wards. Fuck all that. It don't help. These do, yes, and wards can help, but at the same time, you need actual protection. You need spiritual and energetic psychic protection. You need to be able to shield. You need to be able to push that shield, shrink in that shield, and you need to make sure that you can stand firm in that shield. All right? Because if not, there are a lot of things that can affect us. Even channeling myself, it drains the fuck out of me. That's actually one of the reasons that I learned that I was a channeler instead of just a medium, because I was like, why the fuck are these readings wearing me out? But it's not all of them. It's like every other reading. It's like, what the fuck? I went back and learned that every reading that I had a spirit come through that stayed here during the entire reading, that was what was a channeling reading. And I got a question the other day, I don't understand the channeling part, because when we read our cards and stuff like that, we're all channeling. Yes, slightly no. The reason I use the terminology of channeling medium is because if you're dead, say one of your ancestors or even a deity comes through, they literally use my body as the microphone. Okay? They will literally touch me here or like hold my hand, and I'm basically speaking them. Okay? And it's very weird. I had to set boundaries. That's another thing. You need to set boundaries with the spirits that you are going to work with. Alright? It's just like the conversation, oh, well, you shouldn't have your altar in front of your bed because of spicy time. Do you not think I tell my ancestors and other deities and other energies that I work with, hey, adult time, please leave? Yeah, they don't just sit there and watch. That's weird. Okay, there may be one or two. I'm joking. They won't. They respect that 100%. Like, if I go to the bathroom or go to the shower, have I talked to my ancestors while I'm in the shower? Yes. Are they in the shower? No. They're standing on the opposite side of the door. You see what I'm saying? Your ancestors love to connect with you. You will have no idea how much it can help you in so many different ways. And again, it can get heavy. Now, another thing that I've been seeing pop up recently, I don't know where it started, but it needs to squash. Well, you have to do shadow work before you access your psychic abilities. Tell that person to go fuck right on off, because no, the fuck you do not. okay? Not everybody is made out for shadow work, and not everybody's shadow work is made out for them. Some people benefit from it, and others may not be to that place where they need to. And then you got to ask yourself, what type of shadow work are they doing? And secondly, did anybody else realize that, you know, the more social media grew, the more that there are requirements to become a witch now? No, the fuck there is not. You do not have to work with a god or goddess. You do not have to work with spirits. For the longest time, I was taught that that energy, our magic, comes from them, which is why witches work with them. They can add to it. It does not come from them. It comes from with us. We have every single element that the entire galaxy and stars are made out of. We have in us. We have all of the elements in us. What do you think a pentagram can also mean? Spirit, earth, air, fire, and water coming together to form what? Us. Not necessarily us, but you get my picture, right? We have all elements in our bodies. We are literally made up of stardust. That is what magic is. It's tapping into that and slightly using it to bend or to slightly influx. Psychic abilities go in with that too. Now here's the last thing, because I did not realize this video was 30 minutes. I will not claim myself as a psychic. I don't like the term psychic because I don't believe that channeling or mediums are we're not meant to predict the future. Oracle and tarot, they're not made to predict the future either. What they are made for is to give us insight and foresight on things that have already happened, things that may happen, and things that may not have happened. Remember, our minds and body are extremely important. So have you ever had a tarot reading and then a few months later, because we also sometimes hyperfixate on things, and it wound up happening from verbatim? Did you ever ask yourself, okay, was that set in stone, which I don't believe everything is, or was it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Our bodies are really good at doing that. It's one of the reasons I say a lot of people online who claim that they're hexed, they probably hex themselves. Like, I have long hair now. I'm not used to that. So when I do certain workings, I have to make sure my hair is up. If I'm about to hex somebody, or if I'm about to do a spicy working and my hair falls into that, that could also affect me. Same with spit. Same with any other bodily fluids. When you're doing spell work, you need to make sure that it's not being cross-contaminated. And luckily, I've went through food certification, so I have that drilled in my head. But yeah, you're not necessarily trying to predict the future. Have I had readings where it's played out word by word? Yeah. I've also had readings where none's played out, where some things have. It's very weird. But the reason I'm making this video, and I'm going to start making more and more of them, because I've learned that more people are struggling nowadays to access them. And what you don't realize is when you start to access them, you're about to realize that you've already accessed them. But due to the preconceived notions and ideas that we have of the society that we have built around us and all the books and stories and everything like that, comes that preconceived idea that if we're not experiencing, feeling, or sensing the same things everybody else is, oh, we're doing it wrong. No, you're not. We're just not all made to blend in and look all the same. You can have one haunted location and bring in 8, 9, 10 mediums, and you could all interact with the same spirit, but you're going to have a different interaction. And that's what spirit is for. And trust me, the amount of time that I sit around freaking the fuck out. By the way, I wanted to know that too. You will probably go into that moment where you're like, oh my god, this is not made for me. I'm a fraud. No, you're not. Typically, when your body goes into that response where it's like, you're a fraud, you don't deserve this, you actually do. Okay? Imposter syndrome is a bitch. But yeah, and personally for you, the person who is trying to develop your abilities, here's a cautionary tale I wish somebody would have told me. When you first start to access your abilities, you are not guaranteed a filter. That means that you do not get to pick and choose what comes in and what doesn't come in. And let me tell you, so many people freak out when they invite enlightenment and clarity into their lives because they don't understand it's a double-edged sword. When you ask for enlightenment, you're getting clarity. When you ask for clarity, you're getting enlightenment. Why? Because in order to fully see things clearly, you have to fully understand them and everything has to be highlighted. The amount of awkward conversations that luckily have not had because I kept my mouth shut about feelings and vibes that I've got from other people, family members, other things like that, yeah. It gets awkward, but it does get better. You do get to eventually kind of not necessarily turn it on or off. Mine's always on, but I do have what I call down moments. Because you're not going to want to constantly be open to everything. You're going to need your own things. And in time of you building it and working with spirits, you'll get into a kind of a routine. I don't want to say ritual, more of a routine. And I have one. Just because I'm sitting here right now recording, spirits know that I'm not reading. There are certain things that I do on my end to let spirit know I'm open and ready to receive those messages. As always, if you made it to the very end of this video, what are you most excited about this Halloween spooky season? Let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, like I said, let me know in the comments. If you have any stories to share, experiences, let me know. If I can answer them, I totally will. Send this to someone who it may help. And yeah, as always, thank you so much. And if you are interested in anything that I do on all platforms, because I'm on them, we also now have a Ko-fi. K-O-F-I. You can find all of that, TikTok, Instagram, all of that in my description below in my link tree. And you can also find my email down there too. So if you would like to book a reading, spell work, magical consultation, because you can't figure out if you need spell work or a reading, email me and I'll help you out. But until then, thank y'all so much. I hope you're all having an amazing day. And let me know if you can still feel that full moon energy that we had last night. I can still feel it airing up today.